It's my recommendation today. I got made fun of the last time I made a recommendation, and it made me sort of look at like a Zack Snyder lovey-dovey fanboy, and which was not the impression I wanted to give, even though I am a fan of him, and stuff like that. So I'm going back a little bit to. I've been watching a few films, new films over the past few weeks, and I've been a bit spoiled for choice of what I want to recommend. But I think I am going to recommend this film to you because I think this might be a good film for you because I think you're a fan of the person who directed it.
Hey.
I'm recommending a Samuel Fuller film called Fix Bayonets.
Oh, I've heard of this. I've never seen it though.
Yeah. So I've only seen a couple of his films. The first film of his, which is also a war film, was the Big Red One with Lee Marvin and Mark Hamill.
That's an epic film.
Yeah, and so this film is set during the Korean War. Came out in 1951. So as I went through Samuel Fuller's IMDb profile, I did find this quote of his, which I think gives a sense of his character, but also of the films and what he wanted his audience to feel from them. And there's two quotes, actually. So one of them is, "The only way to bring the real experience of war to a movie audience is by firing a machine gun above their heads during the screening."
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to bring him up. And he also said, "Am I a cult director? Yeah, I love all that. I want to join the cult of the 100 to 200 million grossers and still make an artistic picture." So, I've been slowly making my way through his filmography. I've seen Pick Up on South Street, which is a great film, 40 Guns and Shot Corridor, which I'm a big fan of. And I do feel like there is a very savage and fearless nature to his films. There is like a very unflinching and harsh seediness, and he really strives for authenticity. There was another filmmaker who made a war film called A Walk in the Sun with Dana Andrews, and he had fought in World War I, and Samuel Fuller had fought in World War II. He sent him a letter, Samuel Fuller, to Lewis Milestone, which said, "Why a man of your caliber should resort to a colonel's technical advice on what happens in a platoon is something I'll never figure out. When colonels are back in their garrison hutments where they belong, I'll come out with a yarn that won't make any doggy that was ever on the line retch with disgust."
Wow.
So
he's really, I mean, you're right. Like Fuller is like, he's the real thing. And he's younger than like John Ford and John Huston and Frank Capra and those guys who were sent out as like, propaganda filmmakers or whatever, or just sort of general observers during the war. I mean, he actually fought in the war, and I think
he did.
And I don't even think he was an officer. Like, he was just a private in the army, and he
was an infantryman in the 16th.
He's just like, and being an infantryman in the Second World War was, it was not fun. At times, it would have been very similar to World War One. The levels of casualties could be enormous. There were certain units that did not, like, that sustained 100% casualties. Like, it was, you want to be pretty much anywhere else. So it's like, he's got that amazing kind of visceral bitterness and probably like a touch of PTSD from the war. But it's amazing how his films have this kind of like raw energy to them. Pick Up on South Street, I always think about the scene. There's a fight scene towards the end where a character gets pulled down a flight of steps and you just really feel it. And then there's, the bits in Shot Corridor, which are just like, astonishingly like full on. And there's a crazy Western that he made with Rod Steiger called The Run of the Arrow.
I haven't seen that.
The kind of twisted, fucked up version of Dances with Wolves, where a Confederate veteran goes to hide out with the Sioux Indians. I think they're all played by like Charles Bronson and Sarita Montiel. But like, it's a fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, he feels unhinged, and some of it, and I think his films slightly suffer for it. But they like, one scene I always think about is in The Big Red One, where there's the shootout in the mental asylum.
Yeah, that's a very weird.
Okay, Sam, we get it. Like, see a fucking shrink.
Yeah, I mean, he did see a lot of action. He fought in places like North Africa, Italy, France, and he also in Belgium and Czechoslovakia. And he was also at Falkenau, where they helped liberate a German concentration camp. So I guess
which he dramatizes in
The Big Red One.
And it's interesting. He gives himself a cameo in the Big Red One, close to that scene, doesn't he? Like towards the end.
Yeah. So yeah, he
we're not here to
does
talk about the Big Red
No, we're
One.
not here. No, we're here to
Bayonets.
talk about Fix Bayonets, or Fix Bayonets, because it has
Bayonets!
an explanation at the end.
Yeah.
And nice little reference to Zulu there. That was nice.
Oh, I was doing Gettysburg.
Oh.
What's his name? From Dumb and Dumber, not Jim Carrey, the other one.
Oh, Jeff Daniels. Yeah.
He has a great scene where it just goes, Bayonets! And then they charge down, they beat the Confederates, and everyone's happy.
Yeah. So, as I said, it is set during the Korean War. It's set during the First Winter, during the Red Chinese intervention. An entire division is in withdrawal, and a 48-man...
What, from heroin? I need a hitman.
No, that was the Vietnam War. No. Yes.
Hi-oh!
That was a bit of a Johnny Carson joke there. That was a good. I felt pretty proud of that. You could tell your grandmother.
Oh, shut up, Anders. Get on with it.
So yeah, an entire division is in retreat, and so left behind as a rear guard at a chokehold is 48
men.
Are
you reading this off a teleprompter? Why do you go into this robot voice when you read stuff? Can't you just tell me
okay,
use your own words. Try and use your own words instead of reading the IMDb summary. Any fucker can do that.
No, I'm reading my thing. I wrote about it a while ago. So anyway, so
why does it read like a fucking robot wrote it? Be a better writer.
Okay, fine. 48 men are left to sort of help. They're at
okay. Go back to reading your thing. You're just saying sort of all the time.
Okay, fine. So they're basically going to fight an oncoming enemy army and give the impression that there is
this is a disaster. We have to end this episode.
So okay,
48 men, Korea, winter.
Yeah, winter. They're left to sort of
withdrawal.
They're left to defend and give the rest of their sort of.
They're a rear guard.
They're a rear guard, giving the rest of their men a chance to escape across a bridge, and so it's in a very sort of rocky, wintry location, very, very well shot, and I do like war film set during this time. I think it's very nice. It's a very simple film, but it's very engaging, and there's a lot of three-dimensional characters, and they're all played by fairly unknown actors. The only real noticeable actor is Gene Evans, who plays the battle-hardened Sergeant Rock. He was the deputy in War Wagon. Remember that film?
Yeah, I remember the War Wagon. I can't.
It's like I just saw him at the saloon, and Lomax is in there. That guy. He's the Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's a very big ensemble of characters, and I mean, Gene Evans is one of the main characters in the film, but also one of the other main characters is Richard Basehart, who plays Corporal Deno, and Deno is a man who does not like the idea of being responsible for everything, and he would rather take orders than give the orders himself, and the fear of being left with leading the rest of the men becomes a bit of a reality when one by one all the sort of platoon's commanding officers get killed, and so he's sort of left with, and it's him. It's him. It's this idea of like standing up and taking charge, and taking responsibility when you need to. And I think it does, and he does that and Samuel Fuller does that in a very moving way. I mean, even though he is very hindered by the limitations of the budget and the sets, I think they really do give it their all. Like, it's a very tightly made film. It's gripping, even though it's like, it's a 90-minute film, but it's just a lot of great moments, and there's, really a lot of great action scenes, but also like the film really comes alive in these moments, in these sort of quiet downtime scenes. And there's a really good moment where this camera follows around on the characters one by one, and then you hear their inner thoughts, and some of it's quite humorous and some of it's quite moving. And I think he uses the voiceover very well. And he also he frames actors in like really big close-ups. And I think that's really good. And you really get a sense of like their intense emotions. And I think that's good.
It sounds a little bit similar to some of the more like warlike bits of some of the more intense bits of Paths of Glory.
Yeah, it has that kind of feeling. I mean, yeah, there is no real sentimentality or schmaltz. Like, it's very straightforward, and
you're not going to find that in a Sam Fuller movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of grit, a lot of cigar chomping. There's a lot of, it overcomes its B movie limitations, and it becomes more than just some B action film. And he still managed to make a very engaging and very intimate war film, and about responsibility and courage, and it's a very large scale story, but told on a very emotional level and done in a very simple and an effective way. and it pays off very well. And it's very realistic, even though, yeah, of course, it's filmed on a set, but it feels real, and it, you know, shoots in very sort of close quarters, and it's quite exciting and thrilling, especially when a tank shows up, and they like the voiceover shows like, as soon as a tank shows up, it's all over. That kind of stuff.